Good morning and welcome to St Thomas's Church in Winchelsea in East Sussex. East Sussex. Today we are here to see one of the original goons from the Goon Show back in the 60s. And that is, of course, Spike Milligan. Right, well, this church is quite clearly under some kind of construction. It looks like some kind of ruin, and that sun is really bright and it's really low. I'll spin you around so you can have a look. Yeah, there's a church behind me, St Thomas's Church. This is a reasonable sized churchyard. It is very ruinous, this church. But what I'll do is I'll spin you around while I'll tell you a little bit about Spike Milligan.
Terence Allen Milligan was born in Ahmednagar, India on the 16th of April 1918 during the British Raj, the son of an Irish father, Leo Alfonso Milligan, MSM, RA, a regimental sergeant major in the British Indian Army, an English mother, Florence Mary Winifred, née Kettleband. He spent his childhood in Pune and later in Rangoon, capital of British Burma. He was educated at the Convent of Jesus and Mary in Pune and later at St Paul's High School, Rangoon. After army cuts meant his father's position was no longer required, Milligan travelled by sea from India to England for the first time. He arrived on a winter's morning and was bemused by the climate, so different from India's, remembering the dock's terrible noise and everything so cold and grey. After leaving school, he worked as a clerk in the Woolwich Arsenal, played the cornet and discovered jazz. During most of the late 1930s and early 1940s, Milligan performed as an amateur jazz vocalist, guitarist and trumpeter before, during and after being called up for military service, joining the Royal Artillery in the fight against Nazi Germany. But even then he wrote and performed comedy sketches as part of concerts to entertain troops. After his call-up, but before being sent abroad, he and fellow musician Harry Edgington, 1919 to 1993, whose nickname Edge Yingtong, inspired one of Milligan's most memorable musical creations, the Yingtong song, would compose surreal stories filled with puns and skewed logic as a way of staving off the boredom of life in barracks. Milligan returned to jazz in the late 1940s and made a precarious living with the Hall Trio and other musical comedy acts. He was also trying to break into the world of radio as a performer or scriptwriter. His first success in radio was as writer for comedian Derek Roy's show. After a delayed start, Milligan, Peter Sellers, Harry Seacombe and Michael Bentine joined forces in a relatively radical comedy project, The Goon Show. Milligan made several forays into television as a writer-performer. In addition to his many guest appearances on interview, variety and sketch comedy series from the 1950s to the 2000s, The Idiot Weekly Price 2D 1956, starring Peter Sellers, was the first attempt to translate Goon's humour to TV. It was followed by a show called Fred and Son of Fred, both made during 1956 and directed by Richard Lester, who went on to work with the Beatles. In early 1969, Milligan starred in Brownface in the situation comedy Curry and Chips, created and written by Johnny Spite, and featuring Milligan's old friend and colleague Eric Sykes. Curry and Chips set out to satirise racist attitudes in Britain in a similar vein to Spate's earlier creation, the hugely successful Till Death Us Do Part, with Milligan browning up to play Kevin O'Grady, a half Pakistani, half Irish factory worker. Milligan married his first wife, June Marlowe, in 1952. Peter Sellers was best man. They had 3 children, Laura, Sean and Sile, and divorced in 1960. He married Patricia Ridgway, also known as Paddy, in June 1962, with George Martin as best man, and the marriage produced one child, Jane Milligan. The marriage ended with Patricia's death from breast cancer in 1978. In 1975 he fathered a son, James, born in 1976, in an affair with Margaret Morn. Another child, a daughter, Romany, is suspected to have been born at the same time to a Canadian journalist named Roberta Watt. His last wife was Sheila Sinclair, to whom he was married from 1983 until his death on the 27th of February 2002. Sheila Milligan died in June 2011. He had bipolar disorder for most of his life, having several serious mental breakdowns, several lasting over a year. He spoke candidly about his condition and its effect on his life. King Charles III, then the Prince of Wales, was a fan of Milligan. When Milligan received a Lifetime Achievement Award at the British Comedy Awards in 1994, the Prince sent a congratulatory message to be read out on live television. The comedian interrupted the message to call the Prince a little grovelling bastard. He later faxed the Prince saying, "I suppose a knighthood is out of the question." In reality, he and the Prince were very close friends, and Milligan had already been made a Commander of the Order of the British Empire, a CBE, in 1992, honorary because of his Irish citizenship. He was made an Honorary Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire, KBE, in 2001. Even later in life, Milligan's black humour had not deserted him. After the death of Harry Seacombe from cancer, he said, "I'm glad he died before me because I don't want him to sing at my funeral." A recording of Seacombe singing was played at Milligan's memorial service. In 1990 he also wrote his own obituary, in which he stated repeatedly that he wrote The Goon Show and died. Milligan died from kidney failure at the age of 83 on the 27th of February 2002 at his home near Rye in Sussex. On the day of his funeral, 8th of March 2002, his coffin was carried to St Thomas Church in Winchelsea, East Sussex, and was draped in the flag of Ireland. He had once quipped that he wanted his headstone to bear the words, "I told you I was ill." He was buried at St Thomas Churchyard, which is where we are today.
Right, we're going by that little map. It's on there showing you exactly where Spike Milligan's grave is. Not that I really needed to see it because this whole area is surrounded by grass, and there's one completely worn out patch of grass, a little line, a little path that people have made. So a lot of people have gone to see his final resting place, and that's exactly what we're going to do now. So I'll spin you around as per usual, and we're going to have a look at it together. Right, you can see up here there's a little path in the grass. So many people have gone to visit this headstone. They've made a little path, and you can probably see it up in front of us. You see the kind of Celtic cross design. I haven't actually been to see it yet. This is the first time I've been up here to see it. You can't miss this one, can you? Love, peace, Terence Allen, Spike Milligan, CBE, HBE, 1918-2002. A lot of this is written in a foreign language. You can't really read it. It's all in foreign. But I do know that big bit at the bottom says, well, it's supposed to have said, "I told you I was ill." But that is the final resting place of Spike Milligan. Well, that's the final resting place of Spike Milligan. I must admit, I was never really that keen on Spike Milligan. There were some things that he did that made me laugh, like the Ying Tong song, you know, Ying Tong, Ying Tong, Ying Tong, Ying Tong, that one. There was a few things that made me laugh. My brother-in-law absolutely loves him, as do millions of other people, so millions can't be wrong. But anyway, that's the end of another video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to hit that notification bell. Right, I will see you on my next one, wherever I put my teeth back in, wherever I am. So bye bye for now.